My first question is kind of for the both of you. VHS is obviously a franchise that's been around for, I think, over a decade now. I think the first one was 2011, 2012. And it's
Hmm.
obviously known for starting or having all these incredible, talented directors kind of working on it, everything like that. I'm just curious, are you guys a fan of the franchise before you kind of signed on to do this? And do you have like a favorite VHS segment prior to making this?
Oh, I'm a huge fan of the franchise. I've seen them all before I was even asked to be a part of this. And I will always say that Ratma is
Mhm.
my absolute favorite segment. In fact, while we were shooting Stowaway, I had Josh Goldblum, our producer, call Chloe Acuna, who did Ratma, and I
Mhm.
asked for the head of Ratma. Because in that drawer that is pulled out, that is like octopus spider, which is all you guys saw,
Mhm.
above it is a little cat, and below the octopus is the head of Ratma.
Oh, no way. That's
Yeah,
cool. Fun little Easter egg.
yeah. I mean, you
I
can't
had
see it;
not
it didn't
even.
make the cut. But
Oh, didn't it? I didn't know
no,
that.
you never see Ratma. But she was
Oh,
there. Ratma was there.
yeah, she was
I
there.
believe
Can confirm. I had not even heard of VHS and didn't really know what it was until one of the days we were filming on set. A friend texted me and he was having a rough day, and so I used my lunch break to call him. And he was like, "What are you doing right now?" And I was like, "I'm making this movie for my friend. Do you know VHS?" And he went, "You're making a VHS?" And that was when I was like, "Oh." I'm much more of a gamer, so I played every horror game under the sun, but I have a lot of blind spots where movies are concerned that the Flanagan household is in part fixing for me. I recently went and
Yes.
watched, yeah, I watched all of these movies that I never even heard of. The Shawshank Redemption, I just watched for the first time.
wow.
Which is
Mike gave us a.
crazy.
I know I've just played so many video games that I have a lot of movie blind spots, but
Yeah.
Kate encouraged me to go through and watch them. So I did watch some before we filmed, but I just didn't know how much people loved VHS. I just didn't have like that visibility. So it's really cool to now be a part of it, to now be a fan of it, and to have been able to see them now. I think it's so much fun, and there's so much fun that can be had in horror anthology, where a lot of horror sometimes can drag. These are
Mhm.
so fast paced, they're so different. Like it's so creative and so fun, and I love that they all feel so different because you're seeing works from totally different directors. So I am now definitely a fan.
There you go. That's awesome. Kate, obviously you are no stranger to the horror franchise. You've been in all kinds of stuff like Hush, and I would be kicking myself if I didn't say that your speech at the end of Midnight Mass is one of my favorite things to ever exist. Now
Thank
you're
you.
stepping into the chair as a director. I'm just kind of curious, what's that like and how this all came about? Was it daunting at all? Were you nervous, or did you have the vision and just went for it?
Oh, it was hugely daunting. It was terrifying. It was a completely unexpected challenge that showed up. VHS called my team. They asked if I'd be interested. My first answer was no, because having lived with Mike and been through, I think it's 5 TV shows and 3 movies, I know what is asked of the director. I
Mhm.
know how much work it requires. I had a huge amount of respect for what he did, and I didn't want to go into it casually. And so I was scared and I said no. And then it came back around and I put on my big girl pants and I said yes. And then I got to work. And every day I felt the pressure. Every day that I wasn't shot listing or storyboarding from the second I had the green light, I was thinking about it on walks. Like I definitely like Haley, I was like, I do not want to fuck this up. I need to prove this. I want to show my daughter that I can do this. I want to give it my all. I want to try as hard as I can. I think that there is a pervasive feeling in Hollywood that you have to be cool as an
Mhm.
artist. You have to somehow be like uh, withdrawn from desire or wanting to appear to want. And I actively wanted to let that go. That I was going to make it known that I wanted something and I was working hard for it. And I'm very grateful for the support of VHS and Shudder and Studio 71 in letting me swing for the fences.
That's a good way to put it. I think the directing is amazing in this, and you can tell you're swinging
Thank
for the
you.
fences, and I think totally hits it. Totally hits it. Alana, I'm curious, just kind of your experience here too. What's it like working with Kate as a director?
Incredible. I've worked with a bunch of different directors of varying amounts of experience, and Kate was one of the best I've ever worked with. You couldn't, I could never have guessed that she didn't have years of experience as a director. She was so collaborative, and also just made the easiest space for me in the world to act in, and that I was very comfortable. I didn't feel any pressure. I didn't feel like I was going to be embarrassed or judged if I did anything goofy. And a lot of horror acting does feel kind of goofy because you're in a completely normal set with a bunch of people standing around, and then you have to shriek like you're terrified of things. So it was really comfortable for me. And it was also just, I had access to Kate. Like I had someone who was so talented and has such a wealth of experience and knowledge, where if I felt unsure about anything, I could just ask Kate. So I feel like I had the easiest circumstances under which to act in. She made me so comfortable, and also we just had a lot of fun. It was a really fun shoot. There were a lot of laughs, which is, the best way to create anything.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. And Kate, I could ask you the same question here about Alanah, because Alanah, I thought you were great in this.
Thank
You
you.
totally sell the moments that are scary as shit, but then like there's the quieter moments, like you have the one line about the birthday and how there'll be more.
Yep.
That got to me. What was it like working with Alanah?
I mean, Alanah's a dream. I know that, it's pretty common for people in press to just say nice things, but when I tell you these are all real, like
Yeah.
this is true. Alanah surprised me at every turn. I asked her to like confront the existential terror of existence and gaze out a window into the deep vastness of space. I, as an actress, would be intimidated by that. I would flinch. And Alanah didn't flinch at all. She dove in, she tried things, she surprised me. She was fearless without being egotistical. And I will work with Alanah for the rest of my career.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. So obviously we talked about the VHS franchise kind of in general, and obviously VHS is known for being like found footage, but I'm just kind of curious about your relationship with the found footage subgenre, I guess you'd call it in horror. Are you guys like fans of it? Do you think how did this story kind of happen better with found footage than if you had just told it normally?
I'm a huge fan of found footage. Blair Witch Project is in my top 5 movies of all time. I think found footage recently has gotten a bad rap because people think of it as a cheap way to make a movie, but it's actually a very specific art form. Not to be like heady about it, but it's like using pointillism to make a painting. You think you can just do dot 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 and have it, but it has to be used correctly and it has to be used thoughtfully. And I very much appreciated the tight boundaries that it gave me in terms of what I could show and how I could show it. And it made me think about my character point of view and, shot composition in a whole new way. I love it.
Sure. Sure.
Like I said, I'm a huge gamer, so I've played a lot of horror video games. Probably the most iconic camera-based video game is a series called Fatal Frame, which is absolutely terrifying. Where in
That's not the one I played. What's the one that we played?
PT.
Oh yeah.
Also terrifying. Outlast is a series that uses a camera that you need to have your battery saved to make sure that you're actually filming things without your camera dying, because then you can't see anything. So it's a franchise, or it's a premise that I've loved from the many video games that have done it very well. Would also agree, I think Blair Witch Project is absolutely incredible. There's actually a Blair Witch game, also incredible. I might have to make you play that someday, Kate. But getting to do that. Sorry, I'm losing my voice because I'm so sick right now. Getting to explore found footage from a filmmaking perspective is definitely a very new thing for me. And there are so many things about it that I think just makes it so intimate. It's an intimate story, it really is. Haley is just one person. And having that camera perspective so often tight, because, all you're seeing is a finger sometimes in frame, and the constant reminder that she's the one going on this journey and that she's really just filming it for herself, I think just creates an intimacy that is really difficult to look away from, no matter what you're looking at.
Sure, definitely. And I am dying to talk to you about some of the stuff that happens in the second half of Stowaway, because man, it gets crazy. Crazy. Kate, I know that Mike was the one who wrote it and everything, but I'm curious, just kind of in the process of making this, did you know from like day one that this is the direction it was going to go, that you were going to go into space and that some twisted shit was going to happen at the end like that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this Mike wrote the script, and it came from, because he's such a supportive collaborator and so supportive of my career. He was like, hey, what movies do you like? What kind of stories do you want to tell? Like, he kind of sat me down and talked to me about it. And I talked about The Jaunt, which is a Stephen King short story. I talked about Contact with Jodie Foster. I talked about The Fly. And I talked a bit about this theory that everybody can be doing the best they can, and that is a horrible thing that happens.
Mm.
And I kind of laid all those things out for him, and he was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he went away. And about 20 minutes later, he came back, and there was the treatment for Stowaway. And
Wow.
so very early on, I knew where we were ending.
Mm.
And I started pulling images and references about what that would look like.
Mhm.
And I'm going to try to do this without spoilers. And the way that the creators of the final form would be part of we're doing our best, and that's horrible.
Mhm.
And so I loved knowing where that was going, because it allowed me to work backwards and know that everything that was shot in the desert with Alanah could be full of color and could be very earthbound and very heavy feel. Like the camera has weight, it slides off the car. The camera has weight, it's on the ground, she's picking it up, she's moving it around. So that when we take all of that away, we take away gravity, we take away the visual spectrum of light, we were able to have a really beautiful contrast in a short period of time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think the whole second half just looks beautiful. The way you shoot
Thank you.
certain things, I think it was so cool. And I was going to bring up The Fly too, because that's when you see that shot, I thought, oh man, we're going Cronenberg here. And I thought that was so cool. Alanah, I'm curious, is that actually you under all of that, or
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
is it really?
Um, yeah, it is. So there are parts of me that were makeup and parts of me that were a prosthetic that I had to like get into.
Mhm.
Um, but it is all me, and it was deeply uncomfortable. And there was a really interesting thing about trying to capture that weightlessness while in the prosthetic. I think there was a moment where Kate said we need it to look a little more floaty, and I had to be like, I'm doing my best, but it weighs 5 pounds. So there's something that you're like trying to hold up, and I could not shake. And she was like, "Oh, okay, got it. Let's do this instead." And so we had to adapt to the fact that like I was having to wear something that was actually very heavy while also trying to sell weightlessness. That were challenges that you don't expect until you see this thing that's built for you. But um, Kate repeatedly gave me opportunities to have somebody else do it because a lot of that, the things you're seeing at the end are kind of puppeteering effectively, and it was very uncomfortable. But I really wanted to do it myself so that I, in part, could say, yeah, that is fully me.
Yeah.
And it was wild and disgusting, but a very
It
fun,
looks
cool
wild
thing
and
to have
disgusting.
done.
But that is
Yeah.
a great example of the type of actress Alanah is, where
Mhm.
she wants to be in there. She wants to be in the fight. She wants to be doing the thing and making the choices. And another thing found footage gives us, not just the intimacy, but it truly is collaboration, because Alana's there more or less dancing, waltzing with Michael Fimignari, the cinematographer, who is also the camera operator for those things. And all three of us, it was this perfect little triangle of Alanah and Fimignari and me all together. And I kept saying in my head, at least, I don't remember what I said out loud and what was in my head, but that a triangle is the strongest shape.
Mm. Sure.
You
Did I
didn't say
say
that.
that? Did
No,
I
you
never
didn't.
say that?
You never
In my
said that. I
head,
love it though.
I would just yell things out like connected
Triangle is the
or
strongest
things
shape.
like that. Yeah.
Now you said it at least.
Yeah.
The other big thing I really am curious about in the kind of final moments, and I don't want to say too much for the sake of spoilers, but beyond Alana's final form, there's another thing we kind of see in the spaceship, but we only kind of briefly glimpse it for a moment. And again, I think that's where the found footage component really comes in, where it kind of has that Blair Witch Project kind of effect, where that thing is there, that's alive, but we don't get to look at it. Was there ever like any conversation of showing more of it, or did you always know that you just wanted to have a brief signs like glimpse of it?
One of the joys of filmmaking is the fact that the solution to a crisis is almost always better than the original plan.
Mhm.
And so it may not have been the original plan, but I am thrilled with what the solution looks like.
Mm-hmm. Sure, definitely. No, I thought it was terrifying. That
Thank
scene
you.
freaked me out totally. So I loved it. Awesome. We just got a few minutes left with you here, but Kate, now that you've made your directorial debut, do you have plans or ideas for following it up with anything? Or do you want to keep directing?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to gorge myself on it. I have a couple of things I'm lining up. I fall in love with something and I go full force, full steam ahead. And so I intend to do the same in this way.